These are your wireless tools. These are creative wireless versions of them, which basically the only difference between these tools and these tools is that these don't require power. These require power in FE, but you can supply them with RF or any number of things. I hardly ever use anything but RF. This is a wireless grid. It's a wireless version of a grid I will show you way down there. This is a wireless fluid grid, which is basically the same thing, but for fluids. And this is a wireless crafting monitor, which is not that useful, I think. But we'll get to that. These are add-ons. These are add-on tools, but I include them during this part. Now, I'll talk about different add-ons like way over there. But these add-ons I'll talk about now because they're actually created by the same person that wrote the this mod. So here's wireless. Okay, no, this one. Refined storage add-ons. So there's refined storage and refined storage add-ons. This is a wireless crafting grid version of these things. This is okay. This one's easy to talk about. This one basically just when you pick something up, it goes into the your network if you're connected. With this one, it's a little bit more complicated, and I'll talk to that when I get there. This is a portable grid, which you can pick up and put down, and if you look at it, you can stick a storage disk in here, and you can put stuff in there. And take it out, it's gone. Put it back in, it's back. Pretty straightforward. All right, on this side, we've got their basic tool, which is the Certus Quartz wrench. They actually have different versions of this. There's, which I don't have here, but there's a Certus Quartz wrench and there's another quartz wrench. They both work the same. To create them, oops. Let's try that again. To create them, you just put them in an X pattern like that. To create another quartz wrench, you put another quartz in an X like that. This is a view cell. It's basically a filter for views. It doesn't filter for anything else, but when you can stick it in a grid and it'll filter that view. This is a biometric card, which is basically their version of the security card. This is a memory card, which allows you to store configurations for certain machines and then copy them elsewhere. And it helps you set up, I believe it helps you set up the tunneling system that they have, which we'll get to that. Network tool, I'll show you how that works. Certus quartz cutting knife, another quartz cutting knife. This creates certain things. This creates cable anchors, and you can use cable anchors to create facades. And I will cable facades, which you can use to cover up cables. And I'll show you how to do that. The wooden crank, which, okay, it goes to that. Here's the Meteorite Compass, which I don't have any meteorites in this world because I'm in a super flat world. Oh, maybe there are. Or is it just pointing to here? No, it's confused. See, that's just bizarre. I think it's just, is it pointing to here? No? Is it pointing to here? Okay, if you get too close to it. Anyways, this is how you find the meteors. And this is how you find Skystone. Oh, wrong one. I'll stick that there. This is a color applicator. This is a color applicator, and you can use it to actually, I'll play with it in a little bit, but you can use it to change the color of these cables or anything else that takes color. You can also use it to deal with the paint gun mess, or you could just use it to apply color to anything that I think that takes a dye, but we shall see. We'll play with that in a bit. This is an energy manipulator. You can charge stuff with it. Or, yeah. Obviously, and you'll notice that they have their own power units as well. It's a.k.a. Haha. This is a matter cannon. It shoots, it either shoots matter balls, which we talked about back over there. Here we go. It shoots these things, or it shoots paintballs, which we'll talk about as well later. This is tiny TNT. It makes a tiny TNT explosion. Otherwise, it works exactly like regular TNT. There's a purpose for that, which is to, there's an item that you can craft, that you craft in the mod that requires an explosion, but it doesn't require a very big explosion. So you can use that instead, so you don't make as big of holes when you do it. This is a Quartz Grindstone, and this is a wooden crank. What you do is you build your grindstone, and you stick stuff in it, and you turn the crank by right-clicking on it. Obviously, it's not going to turn now because there's nothing in it. But if you take, there's quartz crystal, and stick it in there, you right-click it until it turns into Certus quartz dust. Now, I think this thing eventually breaks the wood. It used to, at least. But that's how you're supposed to get it at first. Before you have power, you're supposed to get these ground components, and it's also how you make their flour from wheat. This is an ME chest. It's basically similar. It's very similar to the portable grid. If you click on the top, you see these grids, and you can stick something in there. The only reason you can stick something in there is because there's this in here. If you click on the side, you get this GUI. If you click on top without it, it just says you cannot read anything in there. So you got to stick it in there. And then once you do, click on the top. And you can actually, it actually also works with automation. If you push items in from the top, it'll go into the storage cell. It'll go into here, I mean. I don't know why it does it like that, by the way. If you push it into the sides or the front or possibly even the bottom, I don't know about the bottom, but there's definitely the sides, then it will go into this slot. This is priority, which doesn't really matter too much when you're using this particular item. But what priority is it tells the ME system which things it should put things in first. So If I put this at 100 and then there's another container that's at 10, then it'll choose this one first. The thing about this versus this is, if I pick that up, it holds its, I can actually use this as a tool. I just don't, if point somewhere that isn't a block and look at it and you can use it. You cannot do that. And then, well, I guess you can shift and right click to put it back down. Obviously, you cannot do that with this one. If you break it, it will drop its contents. Which definitely means that you can't use it. All right, a few more things before I take a break. Yeah, a few more things. They have Nether Quartz versions and Certus Quartz versions of standard tools. Pretty straightforward and kind of random. And then they have Skystone chest and Skystone block chest versions of chests, which are slightly larger than regular chests. 4 rows instead of 3. They have a number of blocks that are just decorative. Well, I say just decorative. The Skystone block actually has a purpose other than that, and this is just a bunch of Fluix crystals put together. But otherwise, these are decorative blocks in addition to whatever else they are. Certus Quartz pillar, which have these lines that go up and down and square on the top. Chiseled Certus Quartz block, which have the kind of the maze-ish design that we see up here. Skystone block, Skystone brick, Skystone small brick, stair versions and slab versions of all of these, which look like these. Here's the small brick, here's the regular brick, Skystone brick, here's the Skystone block, Skystone, Fluix block, chiseled Certus block, Certus Quartz pillar, and just regular Certus Quartz block, along with stairs and slab versions of each. Straightforward. Here we have quartz glass again, and vibrant quartz glass. We also have a light detecting fixture and a charged quartz fixture. By the way, this is quartz glass, which is actually made like this. This is any glass. These are Certus Quartz stressed. In the vibrant version, you put glowstone in it. Light detecting, nether quartz, or any kind of quartz. Oh, no, nether quartz, specifically nether quartz, and an iron ingot. And charged quartz fixture is charged Certus quartz, and iron. And that makes 2 each. And that's back here. Now, the way that works, and I'm going to show you real quick, that the vibrant quartz glass actually does in fact give off light, as does the charged quartz fixture. And, which it also has a particle effect there, as you can see. Eventually. Yep. This is a light detection fixture, and it is detecting the light from here, and probably also from here too, but it's definitely detecting the light from here, which, as you can see, and it does not detect at the redstone power that it gives off is not the power of the light. See, the light here is the light is, where's the lighting? 13. So it's actually, what's 13 minus 7? It's whatever the light value is minus 6. That'll be what the redstone value is that this gives off. Right. And then I think the last row we'll do for today, or for right now, that's that. All right, okay, so also on this, in this box is the cable anchors, which I showed you before, and you can use cable anchors to use pretty much any standard decorative type block, anything that you could make steps out of, I think, pretty much. You can make cable facades, which you can then put over the cables, which we will show you in a bit. And then, cables. This is the cable. This is the one and only cable for refined storage. And this is a relay. The relay is a redstone signal sensitive pass-through for a cable. So you can basically turn this off if you want to with a redstone signal, like a lever. Stick it on there or turn it on, and then that should be no longer functional until you turn it back on. If you want to separate part of the network from the other part, then that's what you do. Okay. Cable. Cable for all of this mess. Oh, one more thing. I don't think I ever did the recipes for this. I mean, because, you know, these are recipes. Oh, you actually use other. Okay. These are recipes for that. One of the big things that I failed to talk to you about over here is the recipes for these, and it's mostly about these things. The portable grids require something we haven't talked about, which is the controller, which is that thing, which we will talk about over there, because those are working ones. And also a grid, which are also, we talk about over there. Here's the recipes for these wireless things. You notice each of them requires a ender pearl. Over here, this is the compass, fuse cell, biometric card. All of these recipes. These are things that we haven't talked about yet. We'll get to them. This is what you need to build a grindstone, including that wooden gear that we saw way over here. Oh, not there. This is a lot of quartz for something that's pretty small, but whatever. Wooden crank is pretty straightforward. Matter gun, energy cell, storage component, formation core. So basically, the idea behind this thing is that it stores stuff electronically and then insubstantiates it, and then it creates the matter from there which you then shoot. Okay, that's fine. Their wireless terminal, we need that, which we talked about over there. An ME terminal, which we'll talk about over there, and then the dense energy cell, which we'll again talk about over there. We'll use these things. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what these things do here right now, but we will play with them. This is a portable cell. This is basically, it's like, so like I said, that thing doesn't, you can't carry that thing around and use it, but you can this. So basically this is a combination of the ME chest plus the functionality of this portable cell. And the portable cell is just about half the size of the lowest tier cell, but you can carry it around and use it. You power it up and you look at it and you can pull things in and out. Obviously it doesn't work now because there's no power in it, and I'm not going to play around with it too much, but there it is. Yeah, we'll talk about everything else in detail later. Now I'm going to do, alright, so this is the one and only cable for refined storage. These are all cables for, and other things, for Applied Energistics 2. It's not, most of these are just different colors, and the thing about the different colors is if it's not this standard, this is basically the uncolored cable down here, the Flukes cable, and there's different there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 16 colors plus an uncolored version of every type of cable, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 types of cable plus some odds and ends. Here's where it starts to get complicated. You can do whatever you want through a single strand of cable. You can connect any number of machines to any other number of machines through this one strand of cable. For these, you have to worry about channels. These standard glass cables plus these ME covered cables. These contain 8 channels, I believe. Oh, as well as these smart cables. So all 3 of these, I believe, can do 8 channels. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not so sure about it. I'll check it. We'll check it in a bit. Oh, it's going to bother me. I'll figure it out. These are glass cables. They carry 8 channels. That means you can connect 8 devices that contain a channel, that require a channel, to a controller. And these are the glass versions, and these are covered versions. These are smart cable versions, which actually shows a graphic on it that shows how many cables are being used. These are dense covered cables, and these are dense smart cables. These contain, I think, 32 channels, if I'm not mistaken. And these do the same thing, but they also have a graphic on them that shows roughly how many channels are being used. These are toggle buses. These are basically versions, the same thing as this over here, this relay. If you want to be able to separate a part of the network from the main part of the network, and turn it off basically, then you use one of these. And now these are if you can craft this to get the toggle bus, and you can craft it put that in a crafting grid and turn it into the toggle bus. And I imagine. And basically the difference is that one of them disconnects on a redstone source, and one of them only connects on a redstone source signal. Okay, so these are, okay, let's start with this. Recipe for this is just quartz fiber, which is right over here, and crystal. And if you want to turn a colored one into a flukes version, clearly you just wash it off. You craft it with a bucket of water. I've never done that, so I don't know if you get the bucket back. Well, I'm sure you do, but I don't know if you get the bucket back with the water or not. And then to craft colored versions, you use a die and 8 of the cable. And that's pretty much how you color all of these. Alright, so that's the glass cable. The covered cable, you just put some wool on it. You craft a cable with a block of wool and you get that. Seems like a lot of wool. It is. Smart cable, you craft a covered cable with glowstone and redstone, and you get that. Dense cable, you do 4 of these, which is why you end up with 16 channels. And then the smart version, you do the dense covered cable with a redstone and a glowstone again. This is quartz fiber. It's good for if you just want to keep the cables separate. If you just want to keep a couple cables separated, and you just want to stick. Now, I think the quartz fiber actually carries its version of power, so it might be good to connect something to the system without it connecting it to the system. So it'll draw the power, but not the data. And then the cable anchors I've showed you before. These all look like this. This is the Flukes glass cable, and these are cable anchors, which you can actually use just randomly to make them look like they're actually stuck to the wall. And if you put them up like this, you can also use them as a ladder. Or you can just use them by themselves stuck to the wall if you want a kind of a low-key ladder like that. Alright, and here's the toggle buses, and I've connected and I've separated this top one and this bottom one with these quartz fibers, so anything on this line will not talk to anything on this line, regardless of, and if you turn these are on or off, that will also be the case. But these cable anchors also do a pretty good job at keeping these lines completely separate. Not even power will cross it. All right, and here are all the cables in all of their glorious rainbow diversity. As you can see, the Fluix versions of all the cable connect to whatever they want to, while the colored versions will only connect to the same color and to the Flux versions. Pretty straightforward. And that, as I say, is that. One more row of, okay, a couple more rows and then we'll be done with this part. These are paintballs. You make paintballs using matter balls and dye. Paintballs can be used. This is a matter condenser right here. This is what you use to make the matter balls. You put a storage component in it, and you put stuff in here, and it turns into these. You can either destroy the items in this thing, turn them into matter balls at a cost of 256 items per matter ball, or you condense it into a singularity, which is 256,000 items per singularity. Now for a singularity, obviously you're going to need you're going to need the top tier storage component, because obviously this thing can only hold 1,000 items. And that's perfectly fine when you only need to do 256 at a time, but you're going to need to do the singularities, you're going to need 256,000, which is not that. Anyways, this doesn't connect directly to anything. If you want to get stuff in there, you use an exporter to do it, or anything else that pipes items. And anything else that pipes items will pipe items right into this area. That's fine. This is stained glass. I'm not going to... You can use color applicator. You can use here. Let's take an empty color applicator, and let me see if I can remember how to use this. Huh? No? I don't remember how to use this. Oh, it doesn't have any energy in it. Okay, fine. You can switch colors. See, there's color in here. There's actually a whole bunch of color. There's paintballs in here, right? There's a whole bunch of paintballs in here. And it only takes the standard paintballs, not the lumen paintballs. The lumen paintballs only work in the matter cannon. Now I can keep cycling through here. I'm just right-clicking. Actually, I'm shift right-clicking. If I shift right-click, yeah. You need to shift right-click to cycle to the next one, and then just right-click to change the color. Anyways, that's one of the things that this can do. This is, what does this have in it? To stick paintballs in here, you need to go to one of these things, stick it in there, and it works just like a storage cell. And you look inside, oh, this has purple paintballs in it, okay? Pretty simple. And then you can use it. Right click, and it makes a little paintballs. I don't think it does damage to people. The matted balls, when you shoot the matted balls, it definitely does damage. And then I think if I go out here, no. There's a way you can also shift and use the here we go. There we go. You can use the scroll wheel, the shift in the scroll wheel to go to shift through the colors. If you set it to flux and there's paintballs on the ground, you can right-click to clean them up, and you actually, I think, gain the paint back. I am not sure if that's the case, but I believe it to be true, and we will test it later. The lumen versions, let me see if one of these has lumens in it, lumen paintballs in it. Oh, it does. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go and take this out and play with it for a second in the dark. Now, doesn't give off light, but it's very visible in the dark. I don't know how far I shot this one out, but it's gone. So if you're in the dark and you're nearby, it's very visible relative to the other paintballs. Okay. And that is that box. Now we're going to start with this side. This is a solderer. This is how you make a solderer. Sticky pistons and quartz enriched iron. And we showed how that worked. Stick certain things in there, and it's a processing machine. I believe you have to put things in the actual order, but if you pipe things in, they tend to go where they're supposed to go. Because, like, I think, like redstone is, if there's redstone, it's pretty much always in the middle. If there's a storage part, it's pretty much always in the middle. That's not true for everything, but when you start to pour things in, it tends to end up in the right place. I haven't had a problem yet where it didn't in auto crafting, but I imagine that the crafters are at least savvy with their own machines to figure out what the recipe is supposed to be, or from the recipe where things are supposed to be. On this side, we have the Inscriber, and the Inscriber uses these things. This is a name Inscriber. You can use it to name things. I've never really used it all that much, and I probably won't, but we'll play with it a little bit. This is the Crystal Growth Accelerator. It helps with this in speeding up the growth of these things, as I've talked about. How you make these pure crystals with sand and dust. And like I said, to make these, you create the seeds and you stick it in a bit of water. Oh, like, I'll pick that one up and I'll drop it down. And eventually, that will grow into a pure crystal. Now, if you want it to go a little faster, use one of these things. Not the water. The crystal growth accelerator. If you just want to grow, don't want it to speed up a little bit, you can just put 1 next to it. If you want it to speed up a lot, you can put 4 next to it, or possibly even 5 if you want to stick one down below. Connect them up with this power source. And then stick them in there. Now you can stick pretty much as many as you want in here, and they will all grow. Of course, since I put them in at different times, they're all different levels of grow. So now they won't join. Now they won't stack up again. But they'll eventually grow. See, look, these are 9%, 11% already. Now, if I had thrown them all in at once, they'd all be at the same level. This one is still barely. See, this one's going to take forever because there's no acceleration on it. But it'll eventually get there. Now these, I don't remember how long it takes for these to grow, but look, they're already like much bigger than the seeds. And you can see there's like definitely like particle effects going on there. And eventually, all of these will turn into full-grown what did I put in there? Certus quartz crystals into the pure, and it works the same way, and it's the same rate and the same speed for each of these 3 types of pure crystal. All right. That, I believe, is all I'm going to do for today. As evidenced by the fact that I've come up against my wooden border, which I will actually start actual networks. As you've seen, I've built here. Yeah, these are 32. These are 32. I'm pretty sure you only have, the cables are 8 and 32. And as you can see, I've maxed out almost 2. I got 32 channels going out this way, and another 26 going out through this cable, plus whatever is directly attached. Plus another 8. Yeah, another 8 channels, because these machines also carry channels through them. They carry up to 8 channels, just like a glass cable would. So there's probably another 8 channels coming off of this side. And you can have up to however many the cable will hold off of each face of the controller. And we'll talk about that over there next time. Right now, I just want to see if my crystals are ready, and those look pretty ready. Yeah, that's 63. That's 63 plus this one over here, and this one is still a little tiny seed. Let me see how far it's gotten. This one has gotten, it's still at 1%. It will eventually grow up to be a big crystal, but it'll take a long time. Anyways. Well, that's it for today. I hope to see you next time.